Track 9.1, Unit 9, Listening 1.
Hello, and welcome to HealthBeat. I think we would all agree that car alarms, dripping faucets, and buzzing insects are incredibly annoying. But what is it about them that annoys us so much? Here to help us answer that question is Alex Nader, Professor of Acoustics at Queen Anne University in London. So, Professor Nader, what is it that makes sounds annoying?
Well, according to my research, there are three main factors. First, a sound can be annoying because we don't know when it will stop. The question of how long the sound will last is what upsets us. Even a distant bell or quiet beep can have this effect. At first, you may not notice the sound, but if it continues, it becomes distracting and increasingly annoying.
For example, the common experience of becoming irritated by a stranger's phone conversation in a public place, right?
That's a great example. Initially, you may hardly notice the conversation. As the conversation continues, however, you start to feel slightly annoyed. You may tell yourself it's because the person is speaking too loudly or because you don't want to know a stranger's personal details. My research, however, has revealed it's not knowing when the conversation will end that makes it so annoying.
So one main factor is not knowing when the sound will stop. And the second factor?
The second factor is if the sound is repetitive. For example, the sound of a dripping faucet. This seems to annoy just about everyone.
Well, it certainly annoys me. My faucet at home is broken, and all night I have to listen to the steady drip, 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 over and over and over. After a while, the sound seems to magnify in strength until it's the only thing I can hear.
Right. So it's that the sound is repetitive that annoys us. Now, let's consider the third factor, sounds that are unpredictable. I have two examples. First, most people are annoyed by the sound of a flying insect, such as a mosquito or a fly nearby. Now, this isn't because they make a loud noise. In fact, at 40 decibels, they're only just louder than someone whispering in our ear. However, how loud they sound to us depends on how close they are. And because they fly in such irregular patterns, this distance is constantly changing.
Right. Sometimes they seem to be flying right next to our ear, then they fly away, then they come back again.
Exactly. And it's this random movement that makes it impossible to predict when we will next hear the sound or how loud it will be. The result is incredibly annoying. If you've ever tried to fall asleep with a fly or mosquito buzzing around your room, you'll know what I mean. Now, let's consider my second example. Someone's fingernails scratching on a chalkboard. Why do you think we find that sound so annoying?
Is it because it's so high-pitched?
Yes, that's what most people think. However, it isn't the high pitch that bothers us. The sound we hear is actually made up of a range of sounds from high to low frequency. It turns out we are irritated more by the low sounds because our ears are more sensitive to them. Moreover, as the fingernails travel down the board, the sound changes from loud to soft in an unpredictable way. We have concluded that the sound being unpredictable contributes to why it is so annoying. Thus, a fly near our ears and fingernails scraping a chalkboard share the reason they're annoying. The sounds are unpredictable.
So, Professor Nader, the three factors for us to keep in mind as to what makes sounds annoying are 1. Not knowing when they'll stop, 2. Being repetitive, and 3. Being unpredictable. Of course, our understanding the reasons why some sounds are annoying doesn't help us feel less irritated when we hear them. Thank you for sharing your insights with us.
Track 9.2, Unit 9, Listening 2.
Good afternoon. I'm Evan Roberts. Today on New Perspectives, we're looking at some strange phenomena from the world of neuroscience. I want to start by asking you to imagine a young woman sitting at home watching TV and waiting for her friend to call. She reaches for her phone because she's sure she heard it ring. The phone didn't ring, though. Sometimes the brain plays tricks on people. Sometimes the brain perceives sounds that aren't there. Two curious examples of this are phantom phone rings and vibrations and phantom words. A phantom phone ring is when someone mistakenly imagines their phone is ringing when it isn't. Psychologists call this a phantom ring because no sound is actually made. This is a common phenomenon that seems to have been happening more and more since the arrival of the smartphone. In fact, a survey conducted last year suggested that up to 85% of us have experienced a phantom phone ring at least once in our lifetime. Whilst researchers aren't certain what causes phantom phone rings, several theories have been proposed. First, phantom phone rings seem to be tied in with the brain trying to make sense of the sounds it receives. For example, you may hear some music on a TV commercial that is similar to your ringtone, and your brain assumes it's your phone ringing. Similarly, people have reported experiencing phantom phone rings when using a hairdryer, turning on the washing machine, or even after hearing a car go by. Essentially, your brain isn't sure what the sound is, so it tries to make an intelligent guess. Another, perhaps more likely explanation is that when we're anxiously expecting a call, we get so stressed that we imagine the phone is ringing. In other words, our expectation that the phone is going to ring prompts us to imagine that it is. Phantom phone rings caused by stress seem to be particularly common if we're separated from our phones when waiting for a call. People have reported leaving their phone on the kitchen table while they take a shower and becoming so worried about missing a call that they actually convince themselves the phone is ringing. A stranger variation of this phenomenon is phantom phone vibrations. The feeling that your phone is vibrating because of a text or call when in reality, nothing is happening. As with phantom rings, the cause of these imaginary vibrations is unknown. However, the leading theory is that as most of us carry our phones in the same place every day, for example, the front pocket of our jeans, our brains have become trained to anticipate vibrations in that area of the body. Over time, our brains have started to over-predict these vibrations, making us think we're receiving calls or texts when we're not. This is obviously both distracting and annoying for the person that experiences it. Another example of our brains playing tricks on us is phantom words, when we hear words that no one actually said. In one study, researchers had volunteers listen to a recording consisting of repeated words or phrases, not sentences. After listening several times, they were asked to recall any words or phrases they'd heard. Strangely, many of the volunteers reported hearing words and phrases that weren't actually on the recording. One explanation for this is that the human brain is constantly looking for patterns and meaning in the information it receives, even if this information is actually meaningless. Interestingly, the researchers also found that what people were thinking about before listening to the recording had an effect on the words and phrases they heard. For example, someone who is trying to lose weight might hear phrases about food. Someone worried about money might hear vocabulary associated with banking or finance. In another interesting study, English language students from various countries were played a recording in English and asked to recall what they'd heard. The results suggested that some students heard words and phrases in their first language while listening to the recording. For example, Chinese students heard some Chinese words in the recording, while students who spoke Arabic or Spanish heard Arabic or Spanish words. What's striking is that some students were even convinced that Chinese, Arabic, or Spanish words had been added to the audio track, even though this wasn't true. The same results were obtained even when the students heard the recording several times. With both phantom phone rings and phantom words, researchers aren't certain why people hear what they do, but it appears that the brain is working hard to interpret sounds and give them meaning. Perhaps people would have fewer phantom vibrations if they paid less attention to their phones, but that isn't likely to change anytime soon.
Track 9.3, Unit 9, Vocabulary Development.
Noise in cities can interfere with normal activities, such as sleeping. It can disrupt the quality of life. It is difficult to escape from sounds in a city. A lot of the outdoor noise, the environmental noise, in cities is caused by transportation. Cars, taxis, buses, trains, and subways all cause noise pollution. People adapt to noise, but face health problems due to noise levels. One problem is hearing loss. When people hear loud noises regularly, this contributes to hearing loss. Some people also suffer from high stress levels. City planners are beginning to understand that they need to create parks for the people living in them. A well-planned park provides a quiet space for people to relax and get away from noise. Because noise seems to have an impact on animals, they also benefit from having parks to enjoy.
Track 9.4, Unit 9, Speaking Skill. 1.
Okay, are there any questions?
Yes. What is pitch?
The question was, what is pitch? Pitch means how high or low a sound is.
2.
What sound did you say is the most annoying?
You want to know what sound I said is the most annoying, correct?
3.
Do some sounds become less annoying if we hear them every day?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
4.
That's all the information we gathered. Did you understand what I said about our group's conclusion?
Not exactly.
Track 9.5, Unit 9, Pronunciation for Speaking. 1.
Low sounds actually affect us more than high sounds.
2.
Hassan imagined the phone rang because he wanted it to ring.
3.
Elliot complained about the noise, but it didn't bother Jude.
4.
Fireworks are louder than jet engines.
5.
Aida heard so many phantom rings that she ignored a real call.
Track 9.6, Unit 9, Pronunciation for Speaking. 1.
Ahmed's new ringtone is very annoying.
2.
Ahmed's new ringtone is very annoying.
3.
Ria was bothered by the traffic in the morning.
4.
Ria was bothered by the traffic in the morning.